I see. The Turk's tone suddenly changed, assuming Hojo in that suspicious way, a way he so often did. I appreciate the chef has already asked this, but is there anything we can do to about your work at the reactor? Accessibility of the clandestine experiments of your laboratory at Shinra Manor. Is Sephiroth likely to find anything that may be damaging to the company? A jeering smile began to creep from the corners of Hojo's lips, and it was all he could do not crackle at the question. Shaking his head, he wandered off, leaving the voice strayed at the heart of the fusion chamber. Perplexed and oblivious to the fact he had unwillingly set in motion a real threat to the organization he was duty-bound to protect. Heh 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 heh. Only the truth. Zack peered out at the muddy road and emerged from near the rear of the military truck and only disappeared again amid the silhouettes of the forest evergreen. Sure is rocking hard. The sky had been doing doggedly overcast for the most of their journey, showering the core side of our spur heavy downpour as our vehicle rumbles around through the farmland and vast wooded terrains. Alike a no-fly warning had been in place for the last 36 hours, so transportation by a helicopter was ruled out, much to the rest of the investigation team. Team discounted Sephiroth had no intention of wasting out in the storm in the minor comfort of the Cosmos Airbase, ordering a swiftless alternative. It seemed like forever the squad left Midgar. Zack was yet fully to recover from their intercontinental flight abroad one of the Glencuskadrope plains, or their short stay at the remote landing strip of north of Cosmo Canyon. He at least had a chance to observe the plethora of stars and paint the heavens above the desert wilderness, and wondered in the moment if Aerith would ever get to witness such a natural beauty. Now, lost to his own thoughts, as he listened to the smoother pattern and tarpaulin roof of the trailer, Zack turned suddenly as the young private beside him groaned. "I hate the motionless sickness," Cloud complained, his head buried under his knees. "I wouldn't know," he chuckled, slapping his friend on the back. "Never had it." "You're lucky." If you're feeling queasy," Zack suggested, "try focus on the horizon. Maybe it'll distract you, or take the damn helmet off." "Yes," muttered the boy, removing the headgear with his locks and a mess and triangled spikes. He has breathed hard over the wagon and the pothole tires careering over the road trail. I'll be home soon." Zack stood, clutching and hanging around the support ring, stretching his legs out for the first hours, then shook around and rattling under the front. Laguna could be seen beyond the glass partition of the cab. Conception of the road weaving before him. Red was asleep in the passenger seat. as the security division guys go. Those two are pretty cool. Taken from the gaze of the infantryman, Zack began pace back and forth, compartment and subratically, pausing to perform the handful of squats the mission playing on his mind, while informing the party that the operation would be at Mount Nebel. Director Heidegger was reluctant to disclose much more. Zack was unfamiliar with his providence and was grateful to have a local on his team. The extent of his knowledge on the Nebel region was the bears of the approach of the tales. Something to do with the powered stimulants in the potions, if you remember correctly. Not all the legacy bears likely to involve in this monster's energy. As an imagination raced, possibly for explanations, spawning increased, each as observed as the last. Zack looked up to Sephiroth's pale green Malco eyes watching him. The captain of the soldier had remained silent for the most of the trip, brooding over the matters, his features hidden behind the cascading strands of silver hair. By his side was the decorative scabbing of his infamous katana, the Masamune, escaping the 6-foot length of his slender, curvy blade. "Settle down," he said coolly, folding his arm, leaning on the back of mutations on his chest, his tone of authority. You're acting like an anxious kid." "Sorry, I'm just restless." Yeah, admitted Zack. He hated being patronized by Sephiroth. Could be at times. He needed something to occupy his mind, so they gave it a final brief assignment. "You weren't listening before?" Sephiroth queried. He shook his head and apologized. "I may have got distracted. I got relationship issues, man. I got relationship issues." "I thought as much," the captain grumbled. As it is. The company is trying to keep this one quiet, but you should be at least aware. Be aware, this isn't a typical mission." "What do you mean?" "The distress calls work on the reactor mention unregular malfunctions. They believe they're linked to a spike in the monsters." He explained. The executives immediately assumption was there had been more of a security breach in the facility. "Like an avalanche or something?" Right? Zack speculated. Sephiroth paused for a moment. "The directors only have been shown the first part of the message. Some of the transmissions was kept from executive guests, Zack, but why?" "The president felt it'd be best not to alarm everybody of the situation. A latter of the message contained incomplete communications about the reactor producing brutal monsters. Creatures! Sounds like mutated copies of Genesis, don't you think, Sephiroth?" "Oh, yeah, no. Sounds like the mutation copy of Genesis copies, don't you think?" And at the top of the townspeople, strange dragons have been appearing. "What do you think's going on?" "I'm not sure. The briefing notes mention in the G Army, but Heidegger has classified this as a secret. After the reactors attack recently, why would they place importance on this one?" "The soldier that was tracking Lazard reported sightings of him at Nebel. That was why they brought us in. Haven't heard from in weeks. And the trail was gone. The trail has gone cold. It was suggesting the circumstances was more serious than the companies first anticipated. What about our contract? Did they confirm this? The Turks sent a scout ahead, but they've discovered something new. And the workers? That is just it. It seems every last one of us, one of the reactor's employees, is unaccounted for. But, with that tremendous surge of power, in the trucks, when the tremendous surge of power suddenly lunged sideways, throwing Zach on the floor and his head was smashed into place. A few moments make sure Cloud was okay. The grinding was right in the range. The vehicle sprung from the road, screeching, and have Sephiroth rose to his feet, unflinching as the wagon violently a second time. His cold stare burning through the torn tarpaulin. Sir Laguna, scrambled the steering wheel that was crashed. Alright, I think that's... Alright. And that was actually a reading, let's see, reading verse from the Niblehiem Incident by N.J. Gallagher. Really good book if you want to know what exactly happened during the time in full detail. This is also compilation safe too, so this goes in the Final Fantasy VII compilation as well. So, and this is actually free to read. You don't have to go buy the physical copy, but I would tell you go support the original copy and buy the hardback books that are in there. It's good in your shelves, good to read in a coffee shop with a physical copy. But you can also read it for free too if you like the story enough. Go support it. I've been making so many things on my videos and my intros to go support this book, so I thought I should just done a reading. I'm sorry I didn't do very well exactly. I mean, I'll be honest, I really kind of have a little bit of bad, grammar with some stuff. But, I read the best I could, so... there's your little verse for the MJ Gallagher's The Niblehiem Incident, the newest book of his. It's it's definitely a good read, and you should go check it out. And like I said, if you don't have enough money, don't worry about it. It's free to read online. But if you can, go support the original book. The link will be in the description below for the free read version of this stuff. And it's just something that you should probably get yourself into, because this is a very good story and done with a good writer at mine. Sure, my reading was not that good, but at least, yeah.